Hey, welcome to the State of Accessibility podcast. Today we're coming live from CSUN. We're at the Vispero booth right now. I am Mark Miller. I work with TPGI. I'm the director of sales. And of course, I'm here with my good friend, as always, David Sloan.
Hi, everyone. I'm David Sloan, Chief Accessibility Officer at Vispero and Practice Manager of User Experience at TPGI. And fingers crossed, this is going to work and we're not going to have any technical issues. So advance apologies if we suddenly disappear.
I think we're doing great. I think we're doing great. So we've been at CSUN. I've been here since Sunday. This is Thursday, and I have seen so much. It's always amazing to be here and be amongst other people in the accessibility industry that are like-minded, that are thinking about accessibility, thinking about advancing accessibility. I've been meeting with people. I've been in the booth. I've been doing presentations. I don't know. Have you had a chance to see any presentations?
I have seen, I think, 3 presentations. So before I go into the best one I've seen so far, I'm just going to walk back and just have a kind of 1-minute high-level description of CSUN. CSUN is an annual conference, takes place in Anaheim in California in March every year. And it's probably the biggest annual conference on digital accessibility and assistive technology. It's organized by the California State University at Northridge, hence the name. So technically the name of the conference is the name of a university. But in accessibility, we've all come to know CSUN as meaning this annual get-together. And it's a wonderful place for people to connect, to learn more about what's happening, new developments in digital accessibility, assistive technologies. There's a huge exhibition room where we are just now.
That's right.
Full of people showcasing different software, hardware products for accessibility, and lots of talks going on in multiple different rooms. I think there's like 7 or 8 parallel tracks. So there's no shortage of figuring out what to do.
Not at all.
Lots of people to talk to, whether you're new to accessibility or you've been coming here for years and are meeting up with old friends and people that or maybe I've never met in person, but follow in LinkedIn or social media.
That's right.
It's an amazing experience, and it's also pretty tiring. So then answering a question like, what's been the best session so far? That's not an easy question.
Right. You're a little sleep deprived. Like, I don't even know if I remember all my sessions. No, and I think the most important thing you said there, and what I really love about CSUN, is the people.
Yeah.
And it's reconnecting with people that are working in a similar industry, that are the same things are important to them that are important to you. And we all sort of sit in our bubbles during the year and work on these things. So getting together and being able to be face to face and share all that is amazing. I've done 2 presentations, so I will talk about them in a minute. But one of the things I do want to get to is of what you've seen of other presentations, what has had the most impact on you?
Well, the one I'm going to mention is one I went to yesterday late in the afternoon by a speaker, Kelly Melcher from the state of Minnesota. And she talked about building your accessibility network. And one of the things that I feel like the community is somewhat struggling with is burnout and feeling like you're the only person doing accessibility, and with developments, here in the US and elsewhere, the sense that accessibility is maybe not such a priority as it used to be, when we all know that it's still super important to be focusing on digital accessibility. So this talk was really some really practical advice on building your network in your organization and and beyond, ways to connect to people, ways to help them get on board with accessibility in very specific ways and feel successful. So it was just a very, very straightforward, very well presented set of recommendations. And one of the really cool things that I'm going to take away and pass on is, when you're an accessibility advocate and you feel like you're making no progress, or you feel like you just need to take a break, when you've built a network, it's like you have this massive big relay race team. So you pass on the baton to someone else, you get a rest, and they can continue the enthusiasm, rather than if you're the only person and you've got no network, you're the only, when you can't keep on going, there's no one else to take over. So this relay where you take a rest and then recuperate, recharged.
Yeah, and it's the energy that happens with a whole group of people. And I mean, it's really related to what we we're just saying about CSUN, right? Like one of the reasons this is great for us is because of the energy connecting with our friends and colleagues provides. And it's that network and it's the energy that's provided. That's really sounds like a really good presentation. And I think really appropriate for what we're all doing now. I want to actually, before we go on to any of that, we have a live audience that is gathered around our booth here, the Vispero booth. And I'm going to ask Rachel to come around. Can you find my voice, Rachel? Okay, here. I have my hand out if you want to take my hand right here. There you go. Come on over. And I'm going to get you in view of the camera here. And I'm gonna put the mic right in front of your mouth, and I would like you to tell me who you are, where you're from, and why you're at CSUN, what it means to you.
Okay, so this is Rachel Hage. I'm actually from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This is my first CSUN conference. I love it. These Vispero and TPGI teams, I was able to go to some of the seminars. Wonderful content. I got to meet Sharky. That was awesome. I got some cool swag, this little floppy disk pin that I love. And yeah, just happy to be like the guys were saying, just networking. The energy here is amazing. The content, all the seminars, just the unity. And I'm a caddis, so I'm a JAWS user and a trainer, and I love all the Vispero products. And yeah, just being around everyone here has been wonderful. I recently became a CPACC, so networking with a lot of those guys has been wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Is this your first CSUN, or are you like a?
This is my first CSUN. Yeah.
Oh, and is it everything that you like just dreamed it would be?
I think more, honestly. It's just, I love it. I can't get enough of it. I was so exhausted by the end of the day yesterday, but I was like, one more seminar because I just couldn't stop. So it's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Any highlight before we let you go? Any highlight that just really has stood out to you since you've been here? It could be anything: a presentation, connection with people, anything.
Yeah, definitely the networking. That's my favorite part so far. Just meeting amazing people out there. But yesterday morning was the Google accessibility updates. I loved all that content that they put out there. That was wonderful. So happy about that. I teach a lot of students using Chrome OS and Android, and it's just it's awesome stuff they're doing. So yes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming over and talking to us. Have a great rest of your CSUN. It's only going to get better from here. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
And I think that was the fact that Google are here talking about their accessibility efforts shows you that this is a conference on the radar of big tech.
Oh, absolutely.
We have presence from worldwide global brands who are talking about their accessibility efforts. This it stretches across small companies focused on accessibility or specific assistive technology products, but we're in California, so we're kind of
So, and I've had a chance to sit down with some of the Google folks, and it's really impressive how focused they are on accessibility, just how focused they are on accessibility of products like Chrome, right? Their cloud products, and even the accessibility of, or thinking about, really starting to think about what does accessibility mean in something like the meta glasses and VR and all these kind of things, because it's not just Google, right? It's the Amazons, it's the Facebooks, it's all these large tech organizations that are really trying to figure out, one, how do they improve accessibility today, but what is all this future, right? What is accessibility in VR? What is accessibility in artificial intelligence? What is, in large language models? What does this all look like? So it's amazing to be in such an innovative space, to your point, with small companies and with some of the largest companies that we all know the names of, thinking about and innovating and figuring out how to improve accessibility.
Right. And that kind of discussion of, we see blog posts talking about emerging devices. We might see YouTube videos, people demonstrating using them. Here, there's a chance to see and interact with those devices in person. And when I saw our colleague Matt Ater using his Meta glasses,
unbelievable,
take pictures and send them to the person he was talking to, just through voice.
Here's the most interesting thing to me about the Meta glasses is that we often think about assistive technologies and then the curb cutout effect, where an assistive technology starts to benefit people beyond its original intended audience, right?
Mhm.
So like Alexa was originally in a assistive technology, and now we all enjoy Alexa. The Ray-Ban glasses are almost a reverse of that. They were sent out into the general public, and people with disabilities, people who are blind, have really found an amazing use for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that kind of making this assistive technology just real and visible to people in person. We all get to walk up to a booth and try something on, or just see somebody using the AT to navigate around the conference center.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Communicate with people. You're seeing AT in practice. You're seeing people use it to independently make the best of the conference experience, as well as the people who are demonstrating new stuff. So it's just the collection. It would be ridiculous if it was any other way.
Right.
But a conference about accessibility and assistive technology should include a significant proportion of people with disabilities who are using that tech, or potentially could be using that tech, and demonstrating to others how to use that tech. So it's great to see it in practice being used. If you are non-disabled and you haven't seen somebody using assistive technology, this is a wonderful chance to either, firstly observe people using tech, and better to talk to them and ask questions about what works, what doesn't work so well.
And just watching innovation like the Ray-Ban glasses, and like I don't know, I wish everybody could experience this, but being on the exhibitor floor and just seeing things that we didn't see last year, right? Coming up this year is incredible. Let's pull somebody else in real quick, because we have people sort of milling about all around us. And you and I are, I think, wonderful to listen to, but there's probably other people that people want to listen to. So I'm going to see if I can get Charlie Pike. Can I get you over here real quick to be on the podcast? So this is Charlie Pike. He works for us. I'm going to have you introduce yourself real quick, Charlie. But what I'm interested in is really the highlight, like what's the one surprise or highlight or a really important thing that you've seen since you've been here at CSUN?
So I'm Charlie Pike. I'm the director of platform success at, I have to stand in here, at TPGI. So I'm working with our customers and our platform to make sure they're getting the full benefit from the platform. I think, so you put me on the spot here. What's a big surprise? Or
it could be anything. It could be like a conversation with somebody else at the conference that you've had that was great. It could be a presentation. It really could be anything.
Yeah, I mean, I've been coming to this conference actually since, well, a long time, since about 2005, 2006. So I've always seen it as a gauge of where accessibility is. And we get a very good sense here of what's the thing, what's moving the needle here. I think what I'm seeing this year is a lot of much more maturity around accessibility. That's really surprised me. A lot of the sessions and so on, we're talking about deeper level things. We're not talking about the basics here, which is something I've always waited for, right? When we get on to the serious topics, process change is accepted now. We're not talking about just getting alt text on our images. We are really trying to understand, how do we get our designers, developers understanding this, getting this, and and getting down to the nub of the challenges, right? And in a few cases specifically, how do we train? How do we get awareness going, like that was going in your session? There's a lot of interesting stuff going on, but I think the level of depth has really impressed me.
Yeah, I think that's important. I guess that's reflected in the software evolution as well. When people have realize that accessibility is more than testing and finding all the problems, all the barriers that you didn't know you had, and then trying to fix them as best you can. The tools are evolving to support process improvement, and we will talk a lot about shift left and having accessibility earlier in the design process. So have you seen a change in the kind of functionality of this software that people have been talking about here to support accessibility programs?
Yeah, there's a less emphasis on just finding defects, because that's all about, I mean, from my experience, a lot of that becomes compliance whack-a-mole. And your issues are arriving as fast as you're fixing them, or faster, as the case may be. And I think people have begun to get tired of that process, and they want to see it. Well, how can we fix it for good? And why is this the case? And we have a lot of people for years who've been painting by numbers with accessibility. You know, we're giving them prescriptions, fix this, fix that, but they don't yet understand what they're doing in any deep way. I think now the tools, much more emphasis on getting them over the line, but also tools in their hands that are related to their jobs. You know, I think we've tended in our industry to impose tools on teams from an accessibility perspective. I think the tools are shifting a little bit more to what developers need to do and what designers need to do. And therefore, how can we fit accessibility into that process? So I think that's part of it.
I think that's a great observation. It goes back to the talk that I heard yesterday, where it's moving from building tools and processes for accessibility professionals, accessibility specialists, and there will always be a need for that, but much more go to where people are and what people are doing and try, where necessary, adjust, help them adjust how they do things, but give them tools to augment what they're already using, rather than saying you've got to stop all that and do it our way because here's a special accessibility tool.
Understand the one thing that they can change in their process that would, link things together.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Charlie. I really appreciate that. It's always good to get a technical perspective from you on CSUN. So thank you so much. I've got somebody else here that I want to talk to real quick before we move on. This is Corey Perlander. Hey, I'm gonna hold the mic right for you, Corey. But come on right in here so we can see you in camera. And really, what I want to hear from you, Corey, is what CSUN means to you.
Okay, let me think about that one. So CSUN, just high level, there's no conference like it for me, being a person with a disability, a screen reader. It's a place where it's a place where you're around other like-minded individuals, professionals who are, wanting to maintain independence, and professionals who are finding every which way to push technology forward to help those, continue independence and continue to thrive. I was very excited this year to have done my first presentation with Elizabeth Whitaker from Freedom Scientific. And as JAWS users, we gave some tips on how to make a document more screen reader friendly. Now, I'm not an accessibility engineer, but just, from a user perspective, what it means to make a document, work for us. And that was very cool.
Yeah. The most important perspective, by the way, right? The user perspective. It seems to me, Corey, like it's really interesting talking to you, because you have this technical interest in the conference and seeing accessibility move forward technically, but it also sounds like being able to come together with people who understand maybe what you go through on a daily basis is really important as well.
Absolutely. That's the part. It touches me, and there's nowhere else like it. So to have so many individuals in one vicinity, right, that, they just get it, and it's special. And there's just so much that comes out of this conference that is shared during this conference. It's just a wealth of knowledge.
Well, very good, Corey. And we really appreciate that perspective, because we can stand here and talk to people all day about what's technical, but to understand the work that we do, the work that our listeners, if you're listening to this podcast, you presumably, you probably do the work of or care about the work of accessibility. And it really helps us remember why we're in this industry and why we do this stuff. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Everything you do.
Thank you, Corey. And that thing that Corey said about not being an accessibility engineer, but here are some things you can do to make your documents more accessible. If we needed accessibility engineers to make accessible documents, we failed.
Right.
So that kind of breaking down to essential steps that can make a big difference. Sharing that knowledge is just so important.
It's important. Well, Corey mentioned her sessions, and I know she was excited because she's been to CSUN a few years now, and this was the first time that she presented. I was not able to attend her session. I'm sure she killed it. But I've done 2 sessions since we've been here. In fact, I'm at a milestone in CSUN that we all look for when we do sessions, and that is being done with your last session.
Yeah.
Because so much pressure comes off of you. People are nodding like, yes.
Yeah.
And so right before this podcast, I crossed that milestone, and I've been very happy to have done my sessions, but also happy that the pressure of doing sessions is off. I did 2 sessions. One of them was with Safarth Shah, and it was a legal update. I was really a bystander in the session. I talked a little bit about how you can, what you need to do from an accessibility standpoint to start to comply with some of the regulations. But if you want, our sessions are posted, our slides are posted. But it was just an incredible look at where we are today from a legal perspective and from a regulatory perspective, and that went over really, really well. Everybody is always interested in how that's evolving. The other session I did with Juanita from Navy Federal Credit Union is we really talked about maturing an accessibility program, the pillars to an accessibility program, in the relationship that an organization should have with an accessibility vendor, and how that relationship changes over time as you become more and more, as the company becomes more and more mature with their ability to deliver accessible digital projects. I'm getting a shout out from a fan.
I am going to interrupt so that people don't think you're just making it up.
All right.
But we have Mitchell Evan here, one of our principal engineers at TPGI, who's just told us Juanita and Mark were amazing. I'm a fan.
And that was off of his phone because he's unable to talk to us right now. I can't get the blur to go away. But he typed it into his phone to make sure that we heard it.
Independent witnesses that Mark's presentation was very good.
I'll grab you an 8x10 and autograph it after this. Thank you very much. No, but it's a pleasure, and it's really, that's, you talk about connecting with people. Juanita and I are 2 different people from two different, she works for a company, I work for an accessibility organization, and to have us come together, I learned so much just working on the presentation with her. And we work together all the time. So just being in that forced scenario where we had to put together something that we were going to present here at CSUN, there were things that she said, things that she learned, and I'm like, oh, that's amazing. In my years, I haven't thought about that. So it really is a privilege to be able to do things like that. And if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I wish I'd showed up to CSUN. CSUN posts all these presentations. Yes, it would have been great if you were here. That's always the best experience. But you can go through and see what people were talking about, see what the presentations were about, and see what that content and experience, the benefit of that content, just like everybody else.
Yeah, and the conference back channel. There's a lot of stuff going on in LinkedIn, people sharing talks,
absolutely
sharing their reaction to other people's talks. I mean, we have this conversation going on. I'm sure there are others going on as well, where people are reflecting what they've heard and the kind of overall, what was the, we're not finished yet. There's still a fair bit to go, but the sort of emerging takeaways. This, amongst many other things, this conference is a pulse check on, well, the state of accessibility, to coin a phrase.
That's a great podcast name. Yeah, I think we should do that. LinkedIn Live.
But I think this year, as Charlie said, there's this sense of there's a level of maturing in terms of understanding the problem that needs to be fixed. There are problems that we know how to fix them, and it's just a case of education and encouragement to get them done. And then there are new problems that are emerging with new tech. There are opportunities. We haven't even mentioned AI yet, but there have been plenty.
Lots of talks on AI. Yeah, I mean, that's a big one.
And I haven't been to any of them yet, which is I need to fix before the end of the day. But it's obviously something that's here, and we can harness it for good. And there's lots of vendors here showing solutions. There are people talking about the opportunities and the threats. We're still very aware of the threats that we've talked about before, about AI entrenching ableist biases and just sort of people thinking, well, I've got an AI powered tool, I don't need to have any humans involved in our accessibility efforts, which we're not nowhere near there yet.
And David is referring when he says we talked about it. It was actually the last State of Accessibility podcast. We tackled that with Ryan Jones.
Right.
So if you're like, what is he talking about? I'd like to hear that conversation. You can actually find that podcast. So this is we're almost halfway through Thursday, which means that there's really one more day of the conference. A lot of people may filter out today. A lot of people are filtering out tomorrow. But the reality is there's a lot left. We have an entire reception that we're doing as an organization. There's people I'm still texting back and forth with that I need to connect with, and there's lots of sessions. My question to you is what are you looking forward to? What is the final thing that you really hope that you get to do, get to see? And I know we're near Disney, but you can't use Disney as something you hope to do and see. So other than that, it has to be the conference, David. What are you really looking forward to?
Oh my goodness. I'm looking forward to going to a few sessions before I'll be back here working with the booth team later in the afternoon, but getting to a few sessions. And honestly, I haven't really planned which ones they're going to be. But I'll be just picking from the schedule and just deciding, probably going somewhere a little bit surprising, a little bit, something that's different. I'll try and push myself and go to something that I maybe don't think I care much about or don't understand. It's
something a little out of your comfort zone.
Exactly, out of my comfort zone. So I think that's my goal. And then telling everyone about it at the reception later. And
so the last thing I want to mention, because we have to wrap up here in a minute, this is a really cool CSUN for us in our organization, because we have the JAWS screen reader, and this is the 30th anniversary of JAWS. The JAWS screen reader has been around for 30 years, and we're all wearing these pins. I don't know if we can see them on camera, but they are a 2¼ floppy disk, the one when you finally had something hard and a window that covered up that magnetic strip, because that is in 1995. That is how JAWS was delivered. And we've got an amazing timeline from 1995 to present. And it's been an amazing evolution. That timeline talks a lot about the evolution of JAWS from a technical perspective and a release perspective. But it's amazing to think about alongside, right? Your sharks are always swimming forward. And as JAWS is swimming, right, technology is improving and increasing, and access for people with disabilities is increasing. More people with disabilities are working. More people with disabilities are able to have equivalent experiences when they go out in public. More people with disabilities are able to access content online than ever before. We need to keep swimming. That's not done yet.
Yep.
But it's really amazing. And the coolest thing at CSUN, because it's the 30th anniversary of JAWS, I don't want to scare anybody, but the shark is around. If you're on the floor, if you're in a presentation, JAWS might show up. So far, he hasn't chased anybody, hasn't been anybody. He mostly is careful that you don't touch with him, because I think he's blow up and he doesn't want to deflate. But it's been really fun. In our presentation room, we have an entire shark's mouth archway that people walk through to get to the presentation. So I think it's been really fun just thinking about how far accessibility has come, thinking about it in context to the JAWS screen reader, which is such a pivotal aspect of accessibility. I mean, it's almost synonymous with the word at this point when we think about it, particularly in the blind and low vision community. And the fact that we're just having so much fun with it, and we're gonna have more fun with it tonight at the reception, that's been kind of probably the biggest difference.
Yeah,
for me, is just this goofy atmosphere around celebrating 30 years of people who are blind being able to access their computers, access content there on their computers, access the web, all these things that JAWS gives us. And the innovations around screen reader technology right now, Picture Smart, it can look at a picture and describe that picture in any level of verbosity and answer. A user can ask questions against that picture and get the detail and information out of it that they want. It's amazing where we are with this type of technology today.
30 years of innovation, with necessary innovation as technology innovates. I just want to finish, before we wrap up, we've been talking a lot about the social energy from being at a conference and meeting old friends, meeting new people, meeting people from all sort of different parts of the accessibility community. Not everyone can be here at an in-person conference, whether it's because of financial reasons or because of, just being unable to travel, health reasons or whatever. I just want to take a moment to appreciate, just share appreciation.
Absolutely.
Being able to be here in person, and recognize we have a privilege of being able to attend a
really good point.
Conference.
It's a really good point.
There are lots of people out there who aren't able to travel. sharing information, building that community virtually as well. While, for those of us who are able to meet in person and benefit from that, that's great. But
while there are so many people here, this is a subset of
absolutely
the large community doing that good work. And while we wish everybody could be here for all sorts of reasons, people aren't here. So I think that's a great shout out.
Yeah,
that's a great shout out.
And ultimately, everyone keep on doing the great work of digital accessibility. It doesn't get any less important to focus on making digital products and services accessible. So keep on doing it.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Dave, for being here at CSUN with me.
Yep.
And for doing this podcast. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I am Mark Miller, thanking David Sloan and reminding you all that if it's not accessible, it's not usable. Thank you.